up with the squad? Welcome back to Poly Sports Tea Time with your favorite auntie with Uncle Tendencies in collaboration with BY's Poly Sports Podcast. Y'all already know how we do. This ain't just hoops talk. It's a cultural clapback with receipts, context, and straight shots of truth. We started a pot with purpose because we're not just talking sports. We calling out the system that been trying to rewrite our playbook. This right here is episode 4 of our CBA Reckoning series, and we're officially in the deep end. Today's brew, bold, bitter, and burning straight through the spin cycle. Sabotage in the system, roster reconfigurations, and the erasure of black leadership. Let's talk about it. See, what's happening ain't just normal league business. It's a strategy. A cold, calculated reshuffling that's got too many of our vets sidelined, our coaches overlooked, and our storytellers silenced. This ain't about basketball. It's about control. We talking about vets cut under the fake promise of youth movements, black women with resumes 10 toes deep being passed over for safe hires, media campaigns that spotlight one while shadowboxing the rest, and a rebrand that's got black culture edited out in real time. They want to soften the edges of this league, but at what cost? They want to center comfort over courage and pretend that's progress? Nah, we ain't buying it. So tonight, we naming names. We breaking down the patterns, and we making damn sure the receipts get read out loud. And best believe, I'm not the only one in the kitchen. Pull up your chair, because my co-host is already at the table. Sharp wit, sharp tongue, and never scared to call it like it is. Political Lil, go ahead and let the people know what time it is. This tea, still hot. Let's get into
it. Thanks, Cess, and to everybody listening. Welcome to the table where tea meets truth and sports meets strategy. And today we're cracking open a conversation that's long overdue. The truth is, this league was born out of black women's labor, leadership, and legacy. But in this new media moment, it's moving towards a brand that treats that same legacy like a liability. That's not growth, that's erasure, and we're here to clock it. What we're watching is more than just front office decisions. It's a systemic reconfiguration rooted in capitalism, colorism, and coded conservatism. They're swapping out leadership under the radar, rewriting narratives, and reshaping the league's image for a broader and let's keep it real, whiter and wealthier demographic. And they're doing it while gaslighting the fans, sidelining the culture, and disrespecting the very people who built this foundation. That's sabotage, not strategy. This isn't just about who gets to shoot the last shot. It's about who gets to lead, whose voices get amplified, and whose presence is deemed marketable. These shifts we're seeing, from roster cuts to disappearing black coaches, aren't accidental. They're calculated. It's gentrification and high tops, a political playbook disguised as progress. But we see through it, and we're here to make it plain. So if you came for the fluff, this ain't the episode. But if you came to understand how power moves in silence, how representation gets rebranded, and how black leadership is being disrespected in real time, then you're in the right place. Because today we're unpacking the politics behind the play. Now that you know what it is, let's get into it.
Let me holler at y'all real quick, because this ain't just a tea spill, it's a reality check. When you black and brilliant in this league, they don't hand you flowers, they hand you a target. Every step you take in power, every time you show up with excellence, there's a system waiting to clip your wings. This ain't just about hoops, it's about hierarchy. It's about who gets to lead loud and who gets labeled, who's allowed to be passionate and who gets policed for it, who gets protected and who gets punished for simply being dope. Lately, the message been loud and it's been foul. Look around. Angel Reese, Asia Wilson, Dejanay Carrington, black women who've earned the spotlight but instead been handed scrutiny, silencing, and setups. Angel can't even blink too hard without getting a tech. Asia drops 30 plus and still gets left off promo runs. Dejanay speaks truth and suddenly she's too outspoken. We see the pattern, and the pattern is tired. Let's be real. This ain't growing pains. It's a calculated rebrand, a culture shift dressed up in pastel lighting and corporate language. They say it's about marketability, but from where I'm sitting, it's feeling like market erasure. So this cold open ain't just a setup, it's a signal. The league is starting to move like it's allergic to the very backbone that built it. And we're going to talk about how that discomfort shows up in lopsided rosters, in the coaching carousel, in the media gaslighting, in the silence when black women say they're hurting. So sip this one slow, let it settle, because what we unpacking today ain't sabotaged by accident, it's sabotaged by design, and we naming all of it. What we're witnessing ain't just a roster shuffle. It's a calculated shift, and it's deeper than talent. This is positioning. More specifically, repositioning. We're talking about the slow, silent phasing out of black point guards, the floor generals, the thinkers, the tempo setters, the emotional anchors of this game. And they're not being pushed out because they can't hoop. They're being pushed out because the blueprint for leadership has been redrawn, quietly but intentionally. Now leadership is looking a lot whiter, a lot softer, a lot more relatable. To who, though? We're seeing rosters built around white or Eurocentric players who haven't earned the alpha title, but are handed the keys to the franchise like it's charity. Meanwhile, black stars, especially the ones who show up unapologetically, are forced into supporting roles in their own damn narratives, or worse, painted as a problem. Let's keep it a buck. This ain't a basketball strategy. It's image control. It's branding. It's politics in motion. Case in point, the Chicago Sky. This is ground zero for the agenda. Kennedy Carter came back into the dub with her game sharp, her edge intact, and her passion on full tilt. But the minute she hip-checked the league's newest chosen one, Caitlin Clark, they lit the match. The media firestorm was instant, and the Sky, they didn't back her. They didn't defend her. They stayed silent. No context, no nuance, no team solidarity. Now she's gone, again. Not because she couldn't play, but because they used her fire that framed her fury. That's not accountability. That's exploitation. And since we're here, let's talk about Angel Reese. Angel been dominant. Straight double-doubles, viral moments, selling out arenas, moving merch, carrying the load. But for the first chunk of the season, she was benched. Minutes managed. Meanwhile, the system ran through Sloop, Kia Nurse, Rebecca Allen. Solid vets, but inconsistent production. Only when Sloop went down, yep, another white veteran point guard, did they finally let Angel cook. And how did the system respond to her impact? They snubbed her. She wasn't voted in as an all-star starter. Not by the fans, not by her peers, not by the media. And ask yourself why. Could it be because the game's in Indiana? Clark's house, Clark's crowd, Clark's comfort zone. Because let's keep it real. When black excellence is loud, visible, and refuses to bow its head, it's rarely rewarded. It's reframed as arrogance, as attitude, as too much. But this ain't just basketball. This is a warning shot. A FAF, when the league starts packaging palatable faces as the future while pushing the ones who built the culture to the edges, that's not growth. That's erasure. And over here, we don't sip in silence. We call it, we clock it, and we keep receipts.
See, this is what we mean when we say the rebranding of power. The WNBA was built on the backs of brilliance of black women. Teresa Weatherspoon, Dawn Staley, Tina Thompson, Cynthia Cooper. These were your foundational architects. The blueprint was build the league off black excellence. The new plan is market it without them. And don't get it twisted. This ain't about diversity. It's about direction. It's about the league choosing to center whiteness as its growth strategy. Whether it's American-born white players or imported Euro stars, the aesthetics are shifting. The playbook is being rewritten, clean cut, quiet, humble. Don't stir the pot. And if you don't fit the mold, if you play with emotion, lead with passion, or speak with authority, you're labeled as problematic. That's not a coincidence. That's a coordinated campaign.
When we break down roster moves and coaching shifts, we're not just analyzing transactions. We're tracing power lines. We're asking real questions. Who's being protected? Who's being handed the mic and the clipboard? And who's being penalized not for underperforming, but for refusing to downplay their presence? Because in this current WNBA, excellence alone don't cut it unless it shows up wrapped in the right aesthetics. Let's talk about control. Because when it comes to the sidelines, locker rooms, and front offices, the shift is clear, and the damn sure ain't black. While the league is dropping polished press releases full of diversity buzzwords, the actual hiring trends are telling the truth. White coaches, European coaches, front office execs who didn't build a damn thing but somehow get handed the keys. Meanwhile, qualified black women who've done the work, paid the dues, built the culture, are still waiting in the hallway. Decades deep, resumes stacked, locked out. And don't get it twisted. This ain't about merit. It's about management. It's about containment. It's about controlling the vibe without honoring the vessel. They say they want composed leaders, classy, measured, calm under pressure. That's cold. That's corporate speak for not too black, not too opinionated, not too visible, not too connected to the very community that made this league mean something. They love the culture, but only when it's stripped of the people who created it. They love the energy, but only when it's under supervision. They want the look, the lingo, the followers, and the funds, but not the legacy. This ain't diversity. This is strategic erasure. This is what happens when you remix black innovation but leave out black ownership. This is corporate colonization with a basketball in its hand. And if we're being honest, it's not new. What we're seeing, the rejection of black coaches, the elevation of Euro discipline as the gold standard, the quiet, calculated removal of black leadership from decision-making spaces. That's not progress. That's a polished version of the plantation suite. They still want the labor. They just don't want the leadership. And that's the game behind the game.
You said it, Says. Let's run down the receipts. Look at the current coaching hires over the last few seasons. Of the 12 head coaches in the league, only 3 are black, and only 1 is a black woman. Meanwhile, we're seeing a rise of Euro coaches and white men who never coached in the league or built within it. Some even walk in from the NCAA or overseas and get crowned with titles like visionary, innovator, and culture setting. Meanwhile, folks like Pokey Chapman, Teresa Weatherspoon, and even Vicki Johnson, coaches who live the game, coach the game, and earn their stripes, are quietly passed over or removed without fanfare. In some cases, replaced by people who don't even have half their resume, but fit the image the league wants to sell. And don't let the DEI report fool you, because diversity ain't equity. The league will post photos during Black History Month, run campaigns in June, and talk about being a progressive space. When it comes time to cut that check or pass that clipboard, the same folks keep getting the call. That ain't inclusion, that's illusion.
Let's talk about the double standards that shape this league's entire narrative structure. Because it's not just about what coaches do, it's about who's allowed to do it without backlash. When black coaches show emotion, they're labeled unstable. When they push their players, they're called abrasive. When they refuse to play politics, they're framed as unprofessional or not a good fit. But let a white or Euro coach raise their voice, slam a clipboard, or get in the ref's face. Suddenly they're a mastermind, culture builder, a motivational force. It's the same sideline energy, but a completely different headline. And we've seen this play out repeatedly. James Wade, a championship-winning coach, leaves the Chicago Sky for an NBA opportunity. And suddenly the commentary shifts. He's called disloyal, abandoned his team, left them in chaos. The framing was sharp, cold, strategic. But when Becky Hammond left the WNBA bench for the NBA and came back again, she was celebrated, framed as NBA ready, a visionary, a trailblazer making moves. Same decision, different narrative. Because this league doesn't just manage basketball, it manages perception. It tells you who to trust, who to cheer for, who deserves grace, and who gets dragged. That's not accountability. That's bias in a blazer. So when we talk about who's being praised and who's being punished, it ain't just about wins and losses. It's about whose voice gets valued, whose presence gets protected, and whose passion gets policed.
Because the war ain't just on the court. It's in the press room. It's in the hiring room. And it's in the ownership box. This isn't about coaching styles. It's about whose vision gets funded, who's allowed to make mistakes and keep their job, who gets a second chance, who gets ownership of the team's identity. Right now, the trend is clear. Black women are allowed to play the game, but we're not trusted to lead it. Not in the front office, not in the coaching huddle, and certainly not in the boardroom, not even in majority ownership.
And this is exactly why we call it the new plantation suite. You can post all the We Stand With Black Women graphics you want. You could drop performative hashtags during Heritage Month, hold a DEI panel at All-Star, or throw a black woman in a promo shoot for visibility points. But until that front office looks like the floor, until the decision-making tables reflect the same brilliance, vision, and lived experience that's been dominating between the lines, it's not progress. It's polished control with a progressive face. You don't get to love the movement if you fear that leadership. You don't get to market the culture while silencing the creators. You don't get to build around black girl magic, but black girl management at every turn. Because what we're looking at isn't representation, it's replication of old hierarchies, of controlled access, of systems that still treat black labor as the asset, but black authority as the threat. This league can't keep profiting off of our power while refusing to share it. The W can't keep retweeting the image without respecting the infrastructure. It's time to stop calling it growth when it's really just a new disguise on the same design. This ain't empowerment, it's curated proximity, meant to look inclusive while keeping real equity out of reach. And that's exactly why we're naming it the new plantation suite. You can renovate the house all you want, but if the foundation is still built on control, we're going to call it what it is every time. Let's get one thing straight. This conversation ain't just about box scores. It's about billboards. Because in this new WNBA media machine, visibility isn't earned, it's engineered carefully, strategically, quietly, You can be the one carrying the team, double digits, double doubles every night, leading in points, boards, effort, and impact. You could be mentoring kids on your off day, showing up for your people, speaking truth on the mic, and still get passed over for the spotlight. Why? Because in this current system, performance ain't the currency, palatability is. If you don't fit the new mold, if your game is loud, your voice is bold, your leadership is black and unfiltered, good luck landing the Gatorade bag. Good luck getting that primetime ESPN sit down. Good luck getting your signature shoe announced, let alone market it with the same energy. What we're watching right now is a manufactured narrative of who the WNBA wants as its hero. And let's not play dumb. 9 times out of 10, that hero is white, quiet, and relatable. Not dominant, not disruptive, not demanded. Safe. The league loves a humble queen as long as she doesn't ask for too much power. Loves passion as long as it don't come with critique. Loves storytelling as long as it don't shake the room. And the players who get chosen to represent the brand, they're not the ones who built the culture. They're the ones who fit the image. Look at the media runs. Look at who's in the commercials, who's on the podcast, who's getting the heartwarming hometown edits on TikTok. It ain't the vets. It ain't the game changers. It's the new America's sweethearts, the humble heroes, the relatable rookies, all white, mostly blonde, and heavily promoted as the blueprint for the league's future. Meanwhile, when a black player shows emotion, speaks up, holds folks accountable, demands what she's earned, suddenly she's too much, too aggressive, bad for the brand. Nah, she's not the problem. She's just not the product they're trying to sell. And that's the real conversation. Who gets celebrated and who gets sanitized? Because black women didn't just build this league. We are the league. But we're being boxed out of our own spotlight in favor of a softer story. And we're not here to shrink for the sake of sponsorships. We're here to set the record straight every single time.
What we're watching isn't just bias. It's a full-blown marketing machine that's selling comfort to an audience that doesn't want to hear from black women who know their power. They're not just selling basketball anymore. They're selling a version of basketball that has been cleansed, neutralized, and stripped of political fire that black women bring. The W wants to expand its audience, but instead of growing it with its core, it's shifting away from it, catering to new fans who only show up when the politics got dialed down and the aesthetics got whitewashed. Let's look at the numbers. Black players make up over 70% of the WNBA, but less than half of the major national endorsements and campaigns feature them. Asia Wilson, arguably the most dominant player in the league, had to fight for media respect. And only now, years into her career, is she being finally consistently covered. And even then, it's framed in comparison. Is she better than? Does she deserve? She's never allowed to just be the standard. Meanwhile, a white superstar can go 1 for 10 behind the arc in a game and still lead Sports Center. That's not reporting. That's rewriting reality.
Let's not overlook one of the clearest tells in this whole media game. Who gets camera time when there's conflict? When Kennedy Carter checked Caitlin Clark, that clip ran on a loop like it was breaking news. Slow-mo replays, social media think pieces, talking heads spinning it into violence, thuggery, lack of sportsmanship. One defensive hip check turned into a full-blown character assassination. But when black players get fouled, disrespected, body slammed, when elbows fly and flagrant calls get swallowed, crickets. No slow-mo, no ESPN specials, no outraged media cycle or league statement, just silence like it never happened. Because the system doesn't just react to conflict, it curates it. And that same media engine, watch it flip the switch when a white player signs a shoe deal. Suddenly it's a celebration, a full-on press rollout, features, exclusives, behind-the-scenes vlogs, the future of the league. Meanwhile, Angel Reese is breaking rookie records, showing up in every damn box score, leading in boards, rocking historic double-double streaks, and showing up for her people every chance she gets. And she's still getting painted as a problem. Still being called controversial, still getting booed in buildings she helped pack out, still being positioned as the antagonist in the story she's been dominating. And let's be clear, this ain't accidental. This is strategic manipulation. This is the WNBA's media machine choosing its heroes and scripting its villains, not based on facts, not based on performance, but based on who fits their agenda. It's a rebrand wrapped in racism, and the silence around it, that's complicity. Because if black players can't even be protected in conflict, but white players are platformed in celebration, then what we're dealing with ain't a visibility issue. It's an intentional rewrite of the truth, and we're not letting it slide.
And let's take it one step further. What does this media narrative do to the fan base? It polarizes it. because the league is spoon feeding the hero villain binary that maps onto racist classes and respectability politics. Black women who fight for themselves are framed as combative. White women who compete the same in the exact same way are framed as tough. Fans mirror what the media shows them, and suddenly we're watching WNBA arenas become battlegrounds, not just for basketball, but for bias. The people who built this league, black fans, black players, black women, are being told to sit back and watch while the sport is rebranded in real time. That's not growth, that's gentrification.
So let's kill the noise about merit. Let's stop pretending this is about growing the game, because if it really was, the stories would look different. The sponsorships will reflect the talent, and the praise wouldn't be so pale. This is about narrative control, about reshaping the image of a league built by black women while slowly pushing them out of the frame. The version of the WNBA they're selling now is not built on legacy, it's built on optics. And somehow the very women who made this league marketable are now being treated like a liability. But we're not letting that slide. Not on this mic, not on this podcast, not on our watch. Let's talk about what it really feels like to play in this league right now. Not just hostile crowds, but crowds that are actively rooting against your existence. Every arena Angel Reese walks into, she gets booed. Not for flagrant fouls, not for dirty play, just for being herself. Dejanay Carrington plays hard-nosed defense, the kind this league claims to love, and gets vilified like she's out of bounds for having pride and presence. Fans in these arenas are getting real bold with their mouths, calling black women players names you can't even air on the live mic, weaponizing social media, doxing players, sending threats, and the league silent. The same league that's quick to promote the viral clips, the full arenas, the merch numbers, suddenly can't find a damn press release when it's time to protect the players who make it all possible. Angel Reese got heckled by a grown man courtside, no removal, no reprimand, no league response. Kennedy Carter got dragged for a standard basketball play, and leadership stayed quiet like it was none of their business. But when a white player gets brushed the wrong way, now we've got statements, we've got suspensions. Now the league is suddenly deeply concerned. You don't get to profit off a black presence, then disappear when that presence is under attack. If black players can be used to sell tickets but not defended when the crowds turn ugly, that's not oversight, that's complicity. And a league that lets you be attacked but won't stand beside you, that's a league that's made a choice. And we're going to make ours. We're going to keep calling it. We're going to keep pressing it until the protection matches the promotion.
And let's be real about the contrast, because when something pops off in the NBA, there's an immediate response. Remember when Russell Westbrook was heckled with racist slurs in Utah? The fan was banned for life. Security intervened. The commissioner made a statement. But in the WNBA, when it's Angel, Carrington, Asia, or any other black player, the league shrugged. The silence speaks volumes. We've now got players dealing with doxing, their personal information being posted, their family members being harassed, all because they were confident, competitive, or God forbid, black women who didn't shrink. And where's the leadership? Where's the union? Where's the player protection infrastructure? Because this isn't just about game day behavior. This is about livelihoods. This is about mental health. This is about walking into work every day knowing the fans might scream racist slurs and your league will sip water and look away.
The emotional toll of all of this is not just heavy, it's constant. Imagine grinding every night, balling out, producing, performing, while also running a quiet checklist in your head. Was that celebration too much? Did I clap back too hard? Did I post something they'll twist tomorrow? Did I show too much emotion? Because one wrong look, one wrong quote, one moment that makes somebody uncomfortable, and you're on a watch list. Not for your game, but for your presence. That's the psychological tax of being a black woman in the W. You don't just play basketball, you perform under surveillance. You're expected to sell out arenas. You're expected to bring the energy, the culture, the heat. You're expected to fill seats and go viral, but you're supposed to do it quietly. Smile through the boos, absorb the disrespect, play through the microaggressions and the contact. Don't clap back. Don't call it out. Don't feel too much, because the moment you do, you're branded. Not as a leader, not as a star, but as a problem. And when you speak up, suddenly you're divisive, too controlling, not good for the brand. But let's be real. The most dangerous branding in this league is the silence. The silence that shows up when black women are vulnerable. The silence that tells us you're valuable when you're marketable, but you're disposable when you need protection. That's the real message, and it's loud, even when the league says nothing.
And make no mistake, this silence isn't passive, it's strategic. Because if the league truly wanted to protect its players, we see policy. We see zero tolerance guidelines. We see coordinated messaging and safety plans, especially during the political moment where sports, race, and backlash are colliding harder than ever. Instead, players are being left to fend for themselves on and off the court. So ask yourself, what kind of culture are we building when people who built this league aren't safe in it? What kind of values are we promoting when Black women are celebrated only when silent and punished when they speak? This isn't just neglect, it's systemic betrayal.
So while the league celebrates record ratings, packed arenas, and a merch boom they didn't see coming, let's not lose track of what's being left behind. Because the same Black women who made it hot are the ones left out in the cold. This segment ain't just a call out, it's a call to action. Because if Black women aren't safe, protected, or prioritized in this league, then all that progressive branding is just window dressing. Let's talk about what happens when the lights cut off, when the cameras stop rolling, the press conference clears out. What's left is the quiet weight of being Black, brilliant, and targeted. What we're witnessing right now ain't just bad refereeing. It's not just a snubbed all-star ballot or one off-media blackout. It's a pattern. It's a system. It's a strategy. One that smiles publicly but silences privately. Benching players for team dynamics, finding them for conduct, leaving them off media day invites, freezing them out of brand deals, and always framing it as professionalism. But let's be clear, that professionalism ain't neutral, it's weaponized. And it's used to police Black players who don't fit the script. Because the second a player steps out of the box they were shoved into, whether she celebrates too loud, shows emotion too often, or refuses to shrink into comfort for corporate approval, she's met with control. Not conversation, discipline, not dialogue, silence, not support. And that's the part folks don't always see. Because when surviving becomes the strategy, liberation gets pushed to the back of the bench, and Black women are left to carry the burden of grace. We play through it, smile through it, lead through it, but that grace is not always a choice. Sometimes it's a shield. Sometimes it's the only thing standing between a contract and a cut. And that is the cost of being Black and excellent in a league that still doesn't know what to do with either.
What we're watching, plain and simple, is psychological warfare. Disciplinary standards in this league are uneven, always have been. When white players pop off, they're called fiery, passionate leaders. When Black women do the same thing, they're labeled as problematic, emotional, or the worst one, a distraction. That label sticks. It follows them into trade talks, into coaching conversations, into brand meetings, into all-star ballots. It becomes a shadow they have to outrun every time they step on the court. And let's not ignore this either. The silence from the WNBA, that's not just an oversight. That may be strategic, and it may be division. Because when some players are protected and others are left to dry, when advocacy feels selective, when labor power isn't equitably applied, we have to ask, who's truly being represented? Who gets the union voice and who gets to be told, wait your turn?
You see, we know how this game is played. You don't have to be suspended to be punished. They refined the retaliation, made it quiet, made it professional, made it plausible. Sometimes it showed up as a DNP, coach's decision. Sometimes it's a phantom injury that never gets explained. Sometimes it's just your name being quietly scrubbed from the storyline. No interviews, no promos, no mention. Like you never mattered. That's how erasure works in this league. Not with an announcement, but with absence. They don't have to say you're blackballed. They just stop showing you. Stop calling on you. Stop writing you into the future. And the silence from leadership, from coaches, from execs, even from teammates who claim solidarity, that silence becomes the loudest sound in the room. Because when no one speaks up, when no one pushes back, when no one risks their own comfort to tell the truth, that's when the system wins. That's when the machine keeps moving uninterrupted. And that's how Black women keep getting punished without ever being called guilty.
That's how power protects itself. It doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, don't be like her. And that whisper travels through the locker room, through endorsement negotiations, through player group chat. It creates a culture of compliance, one where players are afraid to speak, to move, to lead, because they've seen what happens to those that do.
So don't let them sell you that fairy tale. Don't let the hashtags fool you. It ain't all love in this league. There's power, there's politics, there's punishment, and there's a price. One black women keep paying over and over again just to be fully seen, fully heard, fully themselves. But here's what they still haven't figured out. We don't fold, we don't fade, and we don't wait for permission. Even under the weight, we rise, we lead, we innovate, we are the blueprint. So the real question isn't whether black women will keep showing up. We always do. The question is, how much longer do we have to survive before this league lets us thrive? Because we're not asking to be tolerated. We're demanding to be respected. And anything less ain't enough. Lil, what do you make of this shift in visible leadership? Is this calculated or just capitalism doing what it always does?
Let me tell you right now, it's both. This shift isn't just random fallout from capitalism doing what it does. This is capitalism with a targeted strategy. The W is trying to expand its market, but instead of deepening the relationship with the black women who built it, they're reaching for an audience they believe are more valuable in terms of visibility and dollars. And to do that, they're polishing the product, shifting the face of the league and doing it under the guise of growth. But what growth if it's built on erasure? What's market expansion if it means muting the very voices that carried this league through the lean years? This is not accidental. This is about shifting public perception, corporate branding, and who gets to represent what's professional and palatable in women's sports. And time again, black women get cut out of that frame. So yeah, it's capitalism, but it's calculated, curated, and cold-blooded. They know what they're doing. They're betting the public won't notice, or worse, won't care. But we see it, and we're here to name it.
It's a mirror image, Lil. What we're seeing on the sidelines, it's just a reflection of what's happening in live action. This isn't random. It's not coincidental. It's systemic displacement of black control, black strategy, and black presence. On the court, you got black point guards, natural-born leaders being pushed out of the driver's seat, roles shifted, responsibility stripped, voices quieted under the guise of chemistry or discipline. Off the court is veteran black coaches, people who know the league, built the foundation, lived this culture, being passed over for white or Euro candidates who barely touched the W. No track record, no ties, no community connection. But still, they get the clipboard and the microphone. And the language is always dressed up, team fit, fresh vision, culture reset. But the subtext is loud. This is about controlling the game, not just how it's played, but who gets to shape the story. They want black brilliance in the highlight reel, but not in the decision-making room. They'll take our athleticism, our influence, our energy. But when it comes to leadership, to strategy, to power, suddenly it's a problem. And that's the deeper truth. Black women aren't being sidelined for lack of skill. We're being sidelined because leadership, real, unapologetic, community-rooted leadership, scares them. Because when black women lead, we lead with truth, with history, with accountability. And that's what they're trying to avoid. So let's stop calling this a personnel issue. It's not about rotation minutes or coaching preferences. This is a power issue. And they know exactly what they're doing.
Absolutely. They are defending the brand, not the body. The league wants a version of basketball that's marketable to the mainstream America. Clean, non-confrontational, emotional in the right ways, but never political. And when the players step outside the box, especially black women, the league either goes silent or tries to pull them back in line. The ideal of basketball they're selling is one rooted in nostalgia and fantasy, not reality. It's basketball without a cultural fight, without racial tension, without labor demand. But the real WNBA, that's black women building dynasties while fighting pay gaps, racism, and disrespect in real time. Instead of them backing them up, the league too often leaves them to fend for themselves. So yes, the league is protecting a version of basketball that's safe for brands and sanitized for corporate consumption. But they're failing the women who made the product what it is in the first place. What would true safety and leadership equity look like for black women in the WNBA?
True safety, it ain't just a security guard standing near the tunnel. It's not just a jersey patch or a PR campaign. True safety means institutional backing. It means leadership that names racism out loud, not just in private meetings. It means the league dropping statements that don't dance around the issue. It means zero tolerance policies for fan abuse that actually get enforced every time, not just when the cameras are rolling. And it means a union that fights for you when it matters most, not just when it's clean, not just when it's convenient, but when it's necessary. Safety isn't silence, it's solidarity. And leadership equity, that starts up top. We need Black women in GM seats, in ownership conversations, in player development pipelines, not just on stage during DEI panels, but in the damn war room. Not as the exception, as the standard. We're done with the performative hires that make headlines but don't move the needle. We need hiring practices that are transformative, because when leadership is equitable, the whole culture shifts. When Black women are in decision-making power, strategy stops being theoretical. It becomes lived, grounded, real. Equity means protection without preconditions. It means Black women don't have to be flawless to deserve support, don't have to be soft to be safe, and don't have to shrink to be seen. That is the baseline. That's the standard. And if the league won't build it, we'll call it out until they do. When the faces change, the message changes. And when the message changes, the real question becomes, who got handed the mic and who got erased to clear the stage? This ain't just a rebrand. This is a racial reset unfolding in real time. They're reshaping the narrative, reframing who gets to be called a star, recasting the entire storyline to fit a version of this league that's easier to sell, but less true to what built it. Don't let the soft lighting fool you. This is intentional. The excellence Black women built is being co-opted, watered down, and sold back to the world with our fingerprints wiped clean. So here's the call. Watch who gets protected, support who gets punished, speak up when the silence gets too loud to ignore. Because this ain't just about hoops. This is about labor, about politics, about power. And that power is shifting. Not in our favor yet, but the shift is happening. And now we move with purpose. On the next episode of Cess Talk Sports, Be Wise Polysports Tea Time podcast, we're taking it from moral outrage to legal accountability. Labor rights and civil rights, the legal case for justice in the WNBA. We're unpacking how race, gender, and economic discrimination in the W may violate Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, what unfair labor practices look like on paper, where legal recourse and policy leverage live, and how this goes way deeper than PR. This is about protection. Because if the league won't protect its workers, we might need the courts to do it. As always, this is Cess, your favorite auntie with Uncle Tendencies, and Political Lil of the Be Wise Polysports podcast. Hold the mic steady, pouring the tea strong, and keeping the truth hot. Remember, sports is never just about the games we play. It's about the stories we tell and how we advocate for the athletes we care about. If you believe in this league, show up for the women who built it. Organize, advocate, call it out. Make the WNBA respect her. Hashtag respect her game. Hashtags Polysports T. Hashtag labor rights are civil rights. Hashtag we see you. Hashtag protect Black women. Until next time, stay bold, stay loud, and stay all the way locked in. Stay tuned. Talk soon. We out.